Hello, good people of the internet. We are playing Suzerain, and this is episode 12. If you missed the previous episodes, check out the link, which will have the full playlist. And it is a political simulation game. I do lots of reading, make decisions, probably all terrible. Last time, we were doing, making lots of decisions. First to escape the riot outside Gassam, and then we made decisions based on the political reform we're going to be making. So we put all those decisions down. Here's the current proposal. Go check out the previous video if you have missed it about which things we're doing, but we're pretty much trying to reform most things, is my understanding. A couple of things which we might have to go back on depending on how our party takes it. In this episode, well, let's take a look at the news. Oh yeah, we also passed the green bill last time. We didn't veto it, is pretty much how I see it. Reign leading promised reforms. So yes, we've started the reforms. And we said that we would in our presidential speech, or, the reason that we were coming to power. Is listening to the will of the Swordfish people. Good to know. Unleashing energy and analysis of EPA's potential. Our economic analysts indicate that repealing the EPA could unlock a new era of robust growth. Could do. Should contemplate a co-investment venture with Rizia in Gassam. Well, we already did that. Preparations underway for the annual Benfi Festival. Okay. 4 days of panels, theatre plays, exhibitions, and music. Well, that sounds like fun. I assume we get none of that. Because we're just doing our job. There are things to do. We can have a dinner with the business council members. There's a report to read. Or we can have a meeting on the Energy Protection Act. So I feel like we should read the report, go to the meeting, and then go meet with the business. Unless this is going to make us make a decision that we should have listened to these people about first. Fine, maybe we'll go to the meeting first. We're going to read the report. Reform Committee started preparations. Vice President Vecturn reported that along with Lucien Gallard, the committee has started working on the written aspects of the package as per the needs outlined previously. They will soon get the legal team involved to complete the writing process. The needed 150 signatures for the proposal have started to be collected within the USP. Cool. Let's have dinner. Do you like some dinner? We were in Loch Haven to work with the Business Council to assess weaknesses in the economy. Simon organised a dinner with the affluent economic figureheads of Swordland. When we arrived, the streets were bustling with activity, even though the atmosphere in the country was tense. Loch Haveners didn't seem very worried. Together with Tusk, Agnok, Avon, and Hull, we entered the renowned Wisteria restaurant by the coast. These people. Anyway, a short blonde man whose embroidered pocket read manager greeted us and waved his arms in excitement as he told us how pleased he was to have us in his establishment. Being with pride, he led us to a private room and got us seated at a large table covered for the occasion with a maroon tablecloth. We were quickly served by a group of servers. Walter spoke as they started taking our orders. And Walter Tusk is the Lothberg spokesman. Edith Agnok is the chairman of the central bank. Mikhail Avon is the co-chairman of NBC. As in the TV people? No, not the TV people. National Business Council. Obviously, in this world, NBC doesn't exist. And Simon Hull is our Minister of the Economy. Okay. So, Business Council, Business Group, lots of group, which is non-government organization which assesses the economic conditions. Lots of high up people in there. This is the official government group, includes the leading business leaders. Fine. Leading business leaders. Anyway, Walter Tusk, I recommend the Loch Haven salmon. President, you have to taste this local delicacy here, the best in Scotland. And we refused a bribe from him earlier when we were choosing the infrastructure project, who would actually, well, not choosing the project, who would do the project. So he wanted us to go with underhaul or something, and we chose not to. Okay. He recommends the salmon, which, I mean, he could be trying to poison us, but you have to taste the local delicacy, the best in Sweden. Let's go with his suggestion. The servers took their notes and asked about a second dish. You know, we want to be nice to him. At least, you know, if he makes a suggestion, maybe it's a good one. If we don't like it and it poisons us, well, we'll never trust him again. About the second dish, rice salad, no more. I mean, you can't just have salmon on its own. Rice. Servers place glasses in front of each of us and serve bread and water. Well, I mean, if you told me there's going to be bread. After they were done taking orders, they quickly left us alone in a private room. I didn't have the possibility to thank you for coming today. Your presence means a great deal. Indeed, sir, it's an honor to dine with you. Great to be here with the members of the Business Council. We should thank Simon for organising this meeting. No need for that. I hope everyone enjoys the evening. Simon gestured at the expensive-looking red wine bottle that one of the servers had just brought to the table. Mr. President, nod. That looks amazing. Yes, no thank you. Do I have a drinking problem? I don't know. You know, I mean, if it's expensive, who's paying for this? Oh, is this going to be one of those things where they try and pay and I'll be like, oh, no, I can pay. And I'm going to be like, I could offer to pay for the whole thing and lose like 2 wealth, or I could offer to pay for mine, it'd be like 1 or something. Anyway, or it'd be like, let them pay for it and be, oh, thank you very much. What are we saying? This looks amazing. No, thank you. I'll keep my wits about you. Are you going to pass on a Chateau de Falenco 1934? Something regional or at least Swordish? Or I can say I'm not going to drink this evening. As I said, I'm not going to drink. I can't drink now when this country is suffering. I mean, do I have one? That's fine. I said I'm not going to drink. I have to insist. All right, no one's forcing you. I mean, you literally were a second ago. Well, maybe not forcing, but after everybody was served their preferred drinks, Simon stood up with his glass raised. I'd like to raise a toast to all of you here today. We're meeting here tonight in difficult times, but I believe that with hard work, cooperation, and trust, we'll get through this period as well. I'd like to thank Mr. Rain again for his decisiveness when it comes to economic policies. I'm sure we will stop this recession. Also thank Mr. Tuck for being here today. His presence is an honor, is it? And of course, these people, without you, none of these would have been possible. The strength for future cooperation and growth, for a prosperous Swordland. Everybody raised their glasses and toasted each other. After a couple more minutes, the service arrived with our meals. Food tasted amazing. Walter was right, this place must have been the best place in all of Lochhaven. So how did you find the food of the best fine dining restaurant in Lochhaven, Mr. President? Not a big fan of fancy food, but I must admit that's very tasty. Fine food is like fine art, but this particular one is a masterpiece. It's okay. This can't get old. It's an experience. The chef must be tipped. Let's go with this one. Not a big fan of fancy food, because I mean, I'm not really, but it's very tasty. Says the man visiting one of the finest restaurants in Swordland. Don't blame it on him, Mr. President. Didn't choose the place. This isn't an insult. If you take it as one. Whatever. The pressure must have increased after you attended that funeral. No. Pressure was already high, not much has changed. It did, but it was the right decision. It's tough, but our work on the new constitution continues. So we can say going to the funeral was the right decision, which, you know, kind of was. Future's looking good. Tough, but our work on the new constitution continues. Not much has changed. Pressure was already high. You'll get through this. As we converse with Mikhail, I heard Walter raise his voice in apparent argument with Edith and Simon. We both stopped to listen. Caucasian knows the right way of doing business. Their approach to the world is real and raw. I'd prefer that cutthroat approach in comparison to the niceties. Well, I mean, it's a nice country to visit too. I have travelled there often on business trips. The attitude on all countries are nice to visit if you have the cash. Money does turn the world around. Travel is the least you can buy with it. Certainly not all. Exactly. How about the people who don't have extra cash to spend? Again, all, well, let's go with 3 or 4. Not all countries are nice to visit. Probably not. Let's just mention, what about disease, what about death, what about everything that is wrong with the world? Exactly. These are matters beyond our lives. We should focus on the betterment of ourselves and enjoy what we have instead of worrying about what others don't have. We only live once. Isn't black and white. Truly an egotistical way to look at the world. Old men plant trees whose shade they shall never sit under. How wise. Let's be the wise person. An idealist at heart, you know what they say, being a romantic idealist is easy when you have the time and money to be able to just sit down, relax, and dream. Walter was taking us down the rabbit hole again. By the way, I saw that the construction of the highway has already started. I have my concerns about the company, but I hope they do a good job. I expect that the project will bring new investments from Agnolia. The mood is already becoming positive. I have to congratulate Mr. Rain for starting such a massive project. Thank you for your support. I hope the investment returns will be great. Sure. We all hope so. But I think that it will work out. Mr. Hull also deserves credit, of course. Our great economy minister. Is there a joke coming? Why? I thought you said you were great at economy. I've heard that you've bought a new villa, Simon. I don't comment on rumours, but I'll make an exception since we are among friends. It's true. You're doing a great job, so, is he taking a bribe somewhere? A new villa is a bit much, especially in this economy when people are suffering. Where's property? Why? I mean, if he has the money, it's fine. Just ask him why. I already had my eye on the area, plus it wasn't intended to be public. It's a small seaside villa at the outskirts of Conriat, which you can click on. Oh, outside Holsword. Okay. It's just a modest house with a swimming pool and a small golf course in the property. Great city to buy real estate in. Conriat is seeing a surge of investment. So you're becoming neighbour to Marcel Coronti. Modest, are you being sarcastic with me? Wonderful construction made a fortune constructing houses there. Where there is demand, there is supply. The market rules supreme as always. Edith, who was sitting to my left, gently put her hand over my arm for a few seconds. Why? Come on, let's not talk about finance and politics for now. We came here to relax, did we? She turned to Walter and Simon. Isn't that right, gentlemen? I don't know. They nodded at her and took a sip from their drink. She slightly leaned towards me. So, Mr. Rain, why don't you tell us what's behind that strong character of yours? Is she hitting on me? I've heard that you were brought up in the capital and experienced all the power shift as it happened. Is that right? It must have been tough. So we can say, to leave the past behind, focus on today. Yeah, it was difficult times in the capital, but I've learned a lot about politics. I didn't suffer much thanks to my family. We didn't have much, but we were stable. Well, I mean, yeah, we had a middle class. All the power shifters that happened. It was difficult times. It all makes sense now. I never met your family, Mr. President. How are they doing? If you don't mind me asking. I don't know. Prefer not to talk. They're doing great. We have no problems. Like, I mean, does he mean my children and wife, or does he mean my parents, whatever? Because I don't know about my parents. We don't talk too much. They're doing great. We have no problems. But that's not strictly true. Let's just say we don't talk much. Can happen. Sometimes work can get in the way. Don't stress yourself over it. Family is everything. My advice would be to make sure that Frank has a solid relationship with you. He is your future after all. Trying my best to be a good father to him. He seems somewhat introverted. He's going through the teenage period. It's difficult to connect with him. He's a little shy. The kid can handle himself. He doesn't need anybody else. Why do you even care? Best to be a good father. He seems somewhat introverted. Wish that was my son's biggest problem. Darren seemed to be doing fine. I saw that his yacht party in Benfey made the local news. Well, the rascal didn't even ask for permission to use the yacht. He just took it. He basically stole it. Good news is that I finally convinced him to go to university. He will study economics at Lockhaven Business School. It's a good choice. Having a degree in Swordland separates you from the rabble, and we especially need more people who understand economics. Talking of which, it's great that we have another leader who actually studied economics and understands it, like Mr. Alfonso. Look at what he calls studying doesn't get you to the finish line. Also true. Was an inspiration. Political failure nearly destroyed us. So we can either annoy him. I don't know. Let's just say inspiration. Truly wanted to transform this country into a modern nation this term. It was very difficult, though. He got destroyed. It wasn't his policies, it was the old guard. Always had a gut feeling about his sudden fall. Of course it was. They're a big threat. Let's just ask what he means. He threatened their economic power base over the country. Through vast privatization plan, they removed him and backed you after. I think we've had enough drinks. Everyone went quiet. After on silence followed by some chit-chat, Walter ordered a bottle of whiskey. That's one good-looking bottle. Waiters brought one of the finest occasion whiskies. It was time for a toast. I can toast, or I can say I'm not going to drink. Simon, would you give a toast again? I mean, I'm not going to drink. Slight issue with his balance. May the wheels of fortune always turn in our favor. The future of abundance awaits us. think it's time we call a night. You just stood up, most of us were all a little tipsy at this point. Well, I haven't drunk, have I? Well, thank you, Mr. President, for joining us, and you, Simon, for putting all this together. For joining with a bunch of ugly men. It's getting late. Let's call it a night. Just thank them. That's great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. After being of our wells, we slowly walked out the restaurant. The moon was shining bright as everyone except Walter left in their luxury cars. He asked for a moment. He got me inside the small VIP lounge. We all follow him. Usually the Lothberg spokesman doesn't directly comment on the administration, but I might say a few things since this was a special evening. All ears, sure, if you have to. I don't want to hear your comments. I'm all ears. Finally, President listens to the people. It won't be easy to pass the new constitution through the Assembly and through the Supreme Court. We could help you get it through if you return help us with a few economic requests. Lit his cigar and took a few drags before continuing. The consensus is that we see eye to eye in the economic direction you've taken by promoting a market economy. Yes. That group is supportive. Good to know, but I'm not sure how this concerns me. There are many who put their trust in you. He looked me in the eye. You rejected a previous discreet offer to pick Underwall Construction for the execution of the first mega infrastructure project. Indeed, such an utter disappointment in the group. We're aware of the upcoming tax meeting, and it would be a step in the right direction if private corporations would get a tax cut. To boost the economy with job creation, of course, and the positive side effect would be our support to the administration through the entire term. So a large private corporations, a tax reduction, make tax decisions objectively, can't promise you anything, Lothberg will not influence me. So yeah, I can't make a promise. Let's not be hasty, the recession will end if Lothberg is on your side. Why can't we all just be friends? I don't think so. I have other plans. Maybe we can. Is this agreeing to it? That's not promising. Group wants a private corporation tax cut and privatization in healthcare and education. So then it's about promising again. Do I want to promise to give that? I mean, at least it's not large ones. Or I can say it's too much of an ask. Well, I don't know. We've done it now. It is assuring to know that we are allies. Better we could come to an agreement. I mean, did we? Anyway, he says goodbye. Serge comes to pick us up. Drove to a resident in Lockhaven. Serge took the seaside route. I mean, yes, it would have been better if I maybe hadn't agreed to that, but still. We have that meeting. Let's go read this report. School poisoning connected to a British woman. Vilma Ostia, who was working at the school kitchen, was apprehended with connections to last week's school cafeteria poisoning and rival. The act was found to be politically motivated as the perpetrators are connected to the banned British Freedom Party. Ostia is suspected to have been an active member of the British Freedom Front since the start of this year. She has been sentenced to 6 years in prison. I see. Car bomb attack in Avery, in the Agnew Swordish-dominated neighbourhood in the outskirts of Avery, has exploded. Police reported that there was no casualties or injuries. The initial investigation found the car was rigged with a timed bomb. No perpetrators have been found connected to the incident so far. Further investigations are ongoing and details have not been shared with the public. And in the news, but on the rights of workers being drafted. Good to know. President meets with Business Council. News gets out quickly. I wonder if it mentions anything. Mobile mine disaster. Where's Mobile? Maybe we should go there then. Trapping many coal miners. So it's at 112. Many other miners still trapped inside. Rescue operations are continuing without any sleep. Investigators have been told that this might have happened due to the neglect of the company. Workers' right bill being drafted comes too late. Okay, so we need to get that rights bill in place. We are going to have our meeting on the EPA. As the morning sun streamed through the window of the presidential office, an imminent meeting loomed on my agenda. In a quarter of an hour, I was set to discuss the Energy Protection Act of 1932 with Ministers Graf, Hull and Vichy. Recent abrogation in the GNA, coupled with the ongoing dialogues with Gassam, had only served to amplify the discourse surrounding the legislation. I was sipping my morning coffee, enjoyed a quiet moment of solitude when David arrived, characteristically early. Very good morning to you, Mr. President. Trust not imposing by arriving ahead of schedule. Not at all. On the contrary, we've now got an extra few minutes to strategize before the meeting. Given the serious topic we're addressing, an early start might be just what we need. Gesture towards the seat. And we can strategize, I guess. Who else? Graf Hull. Relieved to hear that. I depart earlier for my appointments nowadays, as the stairs of the capital have become more of a challenge than I would like to admit. Nothing to be ashamed of. Coffee or tea? He likes tea, doesn't he? Can I not just offer him tea? It's not the stairs battling, but the relentless march of time. Dispersed in a very artificial way. No wonder it takes longer. Clear my mind before ministers arrive. It's fine, just offer him a drink. Already had this tea, as per his doctor's advice. She struggles. She suggests chamomile in the morning and sage tea in the evening for optimal health. Listening to the doctor does bring me some comfort. It feels as though my throat has been refreshed thanks to her. Gaze drifted, looking onto something beyond the window. Colossal Zeppelin traversed the sky above the marine district for a fleeting moment. It blotted out the sun before gently veering to the left, letting light flood the office once more. Still remember the first airships in Suzerain. We purchased them from Canal after the war during the birth of what's so called the Second Republic. Our infrastructure lay in ruins, and those Zeppelins offered much needed lifeline, a chance to traverse and rebuild. And then, thanks to our research council's diligent efforts, we started manufacturing our own in Gelsord. Fascinating to think how much we depend on foreign help. We've come a long way. Manufacturing Zeppelins in Gelsord was truly a turning point. Do you think we might have leaned too heavily on Zeppelins for our transportation needs? Perhaps we should have invested more in rebuilding our roads and railways. At the time, the destroyed roads and bridges all made air travel the most suitable option, but now I'm glad that your presidency is focused on building up our infrastructure. Reliance on others was temporary, a stepping stone towards self-sufficiency we achieved with the National Autarky Plan. Even though it had downsides, I still consider it a success. Pauseful over the room, David gaze planted on the portrait of Sol hanging in the presidential office. His eyes lingered on the stern face of the old leader. A sigh escaped his lips. Now I think of the EPA, my mind is carried back to the formative years of post-Civil War Hallsword. In the 1930s, the debates passion the potential for transformation. It was a time of renewed optimism. It's our duty now to learn from the past and strive for a better future. What applied back then won't apply now. EPA was so crucial at the time we had to safeguard our energy sector. Life and wholesale stuff, electricity blackouts, unemployment gangs, all that stuff. Soul's pardons to armed rebels did a lot to quell the rampant unrest. We'll say the first one. Yep, EPA helped ensure that the sector remained under our control, limiting the extent of ownership of foreign powers such as Rimburg or Lesbia. Despite the controversies, it was crucial for our recovery, and it's helped us maintain our energy independence to this day. Did not agree with all the measures enacted by the technocratic government of that era, but some were undeniably effective. In the end, it took a collective effort to reassemble the nation's fragmented pieces. I'm sure you remember those dark days yourself. You were just a student at the Lackhaven Business School, far from Holzard, but the armed rebels did reach your area. Through a time studying business principles while chaos ensued, just a few miles away. Those disturbances did not deter me from my studies. In fact, they reinforced the importance of my education. Sure. Stability and order is important to a nation, yet sometimes disorder is necessary for change. Turn towards a large portrait frame of his father, Artur Sunakovici, hanging on the wall painted with rich, warm hues. It captured the first president of Swordsland in his prime. A spark of determination gleamed in his eyes, and his mouth was set in a gentle, firm smile, a reflection of his belief in a better future for our country. While this legacy still looms large, has it influenced your own views? Wouldn't be what it was today without your father. It's a shame that such an influential man died under such tragic circumstances. What happened to him? I can't remember. Brief leadership modernized Swordsland into a secular democratic republic. He was imprisoned by... Oh right, so the military coup. So yeah, do we ask him about that? Was visionary a man who sought to modernize Swordsland into a secular democratic republic? I've always been guided by his principles. His ability to mobilize public support for revolutionary change has been a constant inspiration to me. You look back at the portrait with a mix of pride and sadness. In a way, Tarquin Sol did carry on my father's legacy. Under his leadership, we transitioned from a military government to a civilian one and experienced our first multi-party elections, but over time he drifted away from the ideals of reform and progress that my father held so dear. His visionary zeal succumbed to the more pragmatic, more conservative, and sometimes even regressive dictates of political survival. Perhaps history wouldn't have taken a different course if the Isam incident hadn't happened. Would have taken. Still, one must credit Tarquin Sol for extricating our nation from the ashes. In retrospect, an earlier resignation might have been beneficial. His ingrained traditions seem to have done more harm than good in the long run. Let's just keep listening. Alfonso, for his flaws, did seek to set the nation back on a path of progress with his focus on free market and economic liberalization. EPA amendments, for example, were a severe departure from Sol's national autarky plan. Maybe we should read this. National self-sufficiency. Key components included the nationalization of most private enterprises, a shift from the gold standard to currency-led economy. Anyway. Many praised the way that it opened the doors for unprecedented foreign investment in our energy economy. The NAP was a cornerstone for our post-war recovery. I wonder, could we have done more with it? First, it was the state education court, then SSC bills, and then slowly the EPA. He wanted to erase every trace of Tarquin Sol's Second Republic. Those same moments also opened the door to corruption. Do you think the EPA still holds relevance today, or should we consider a complete overhaul? Heavily disagreed with the move at the time. Even as Vice executive vice president in 1946. Alfonso simply tried to change the country too fast. Let's just ask about the EPA. Has its roots in a different era. While some of its principles may still hold, we must not shy away from revising it in light of our current needs and challenges. Just as conversation hit a pause, the door swung open and other ministers arrived. Hall entered first with a confident stride. He says hello. Lelius followed, closed the door behind. Air of calm, gaze sweeping across the room, if not interrupting anything crucial. Welcome everyone, it's great to see you all here. We have important discussion on the agenda today regarding the EPA. Appreciate the urgency, let's get right to the heart. A critical issue that we need to address. I look forward to hearing everyone's perspectives. Today we have the opportunity to shape the economic strategy of Suzerain for decades to come. EPA has long stood as key contention and debate point of the NAP. This matter is a discussion of how Suzerain sees itself and how we position ourselves in the world. Our nation has taken very different economic approaches in the last 4 decades. Mr. President has decided to lean on promoting a market economy, which should give us a clear indicator. Even if we manage to stabilize our economy, loosening the EPA regulations could still be beneficial. By creating an attractive environment for foreign investors, we can ensure that Switzerland is not merely surviving, but thriving in the long term. Promoting market economy does not inherently translate to prosperity for all. It can lead to a concentration of wealth, with the rich getting richer while the middle and working classes struggle. We need to ensure that the benefits of economic growth are shared equitably. Just equally would have been fine. Across all layers of society, the welfare of citizens should be our primary concern. Fosters competition, which ultimately leads to innovation and economic growth. Insight, valuable insight. Important that we consider all potential outcomes. Let's just say what free market is. We must also consider the potential pitfalls of unregulated capitalism. We should. But that's not what we're talking about. The current version of the EPA dates back to 1949. Alfonso's amendment raised the cap on foreign investment in Swedish energy companies to 20%. In my view, it was necessary to attract foreign investment and stimulate our economy. We must remember that Suzerain was facing an economic crisis during his tenure, and these changes provided the lifeline for our energy industries. Wasn't this change a sign of desperation rather than strategy? But did the increased foreign ownership actually lead to substantial economic growth? When the changes the EPA were first implemented, I had serious reservations. Suzerain policy was choking the growth. But actually lead to growth is a good question. While the increase in foreign ownership alone didn't lead to the drastic upturn in economic growth, it did have a positive effect. Facilitated foreign investment and provided our industries with much needed capital. The effects of such policy changes often take time to fully manifest and lay the groundwork for future economic development. The Assembly has spoken on this matter, and as it stands, the EPA will not be repealed. It's clear that our colleagues have recognised the potential for risks of exposing our energy sector to foreign ownership. While this doesn't end the debate, it does underline the importance of respecting our Assembly's decision. Don't only respect the decision, I support it. We must respect the decision of the Assembly, even if it doesn't align with our own views. Decision has been made, but that doesn't mean we stop advocating for what we believe is right for Switzerland. Respect the decision, however, we mustn't allow the setback to deter us from exploring the possible options for Switzerland. The global landscape is ever evolving, and we must adapt accordingly. Also important to remember that the Assembly's decision is not the final word. There is room for further legislative efforts and executive initiatives, because we have our own decrees and stuff. And this is what I was saying before, raise it up to 49%, before all this has even come out, episodes ago. should consider complete removal, if not at least a very increase the threshold to 49%. Attract more foreign investment and strengthen energy institutions such as Gazprom and Swedish Petroleum. Sure, you're right, but we have to remember that we're dealing with national security as well, as economics reverting to the Sol era 10% limit. Keeping the law as it is would be a safer approach. We cannot risk our energy infrastructure falling into the foreign hands, especially not Rimberg. So merit in both your arguments. Yes, we need to protect the national security, but also need to consider the economic implications. Perhaps a mixed approach would work best, hence 49%. What if we increase limits to 49%, thereby attracting foreign investments while maintaining Swedish control over critical energy sectors? It's almost like I wrote this. I didn't know, obviously. So what do we say? What are the worst case scenarios if they gain control over our... Well, we're not going to give them that. What would the... How would it change the corporations, which could sell to any entity under the revised laws? How would they affect energy prices? Let's ask about companies first. You already know the answer. Could fall under foreign control just like any other energy corporation. Could result in increased resources flowing into Gazprom and its ilk. Those resources could be channeled into further development of our energy sector. Could potentially settle in, but wouldn't that be a testament to the strength and attractiveness of our energy sector on the global stage? Okay, so we can just ask all the questions. What is the worst? If any one of these countries, especially Rimberg, gains control, they cut off our power at any moment. Yeah, well, that's why I don't necessarily need to ask the question. Also be forced to comply with any decision they made regarding prices or environmental measures. No denying the potential risk of foreign buyers gaining control over critical sectors. If we increase foreign ownership thresholds to 49%, we can attract more investment while mitigating those risks. It's also crucial to see them as potential partners, not just threats. Mentioned the scenarios are possible. Think about economic growth and international relations that could be fostered. How will changes affect energy prices? Foreign investment, we could potentially see a decrease. Should also consider the potential impact on job security and national control of our energy sector. Could lead to increased energy prices as foreign entities could manipulate the market. Increased competition and foreign investment, we could also see a decrease in energy prices. The more players in the market, the more competitive the prices will be. Let's proceed. Given the turbulent economic landscape, maintaining the status quo could offer stability. Already open to foreign investment 20%. Changing this percentage may introduce unexpected challenges and could complicate our foreign relations. Firmly in the sovereignty and strength of our own nation, returning to the threshold to 10%, as it was during the Sol era, could protect us from undue foreign influence. I don't see how 10 is that different to 20, but go on. Increasing foreign investment could significantly stimulate our economy. A careful increase to 49% could be a balanced compromise, signaling to the world that Sodom is open for business while still retaining majority control. We must consider the far-reaching implications of our actions. Today's decisions regarding the EPA will significantly impact Gazprom and other corporations in the future. Co-investment with Russia allows us to distribute the financial burden and mitigate risks. This decision promotes regional cooperation, aligning well with our fiscal policies. It's a strategic move, not a concession. It's a partnership that secures our place in the global energy landscape. Testament to our commitment to regional cooperation. It's a pragmatic move that will be beneficial for both nations. Might not be the best partner given our history with them, but we have to take a balanced approach with our budget and economy. Let's just say it's pragmatic. It will be beneficial. Meticulously adjusted his glasses. Whatever. With us and them co-investing in Gazprom, there's a chance to build our partnership that benefits both our economies. However, how we adjust the EPA could significantly impact the outcome. Sharing the burden with Rizia does provide some reassurance. However, if we raise the foreign ownership threshold, we must be wary of the influence of Rimburg. Partnership has proven beneficial, suggest we maintain the current threshold. Well, we're not going to choose that option. Perhaps we should consider removing the threshold. Could propel Gassam into the global market and truly maximize our gains. Cannot ignore potential economic benefits. Raising the threshold could attract more investors. Even though we're sharing the investment with Rizia, we should still prioritize storage control. Let's consider reducing it. Well, let's increase we want it to go to 49%. I understand the potential economic benefits, but we can't compromise the sovereignty for profits. Increasing threshold might attract more foreign investors and increase the value of our stake. But of course, we should ensure that Swordsland's interests are safeguarded. Opting for a more balanced approach aligns well with our objective and maintaining positive trade relations without compromising our sovereignty. Consider long-term impact to our decisions. Might bring immediate financial gains, but we'd risk losing control of the energy sector. Should be more aggressive in attracting foreign investment. After all, a thriving energy sector can be a major driver of our economic growth. Has been a safeguard to our national interest, but we must also be open to change. Choices aren't just about numbers, they hold significant implications for the people of Swordsland. We must make our decision with them in mind. This one, the safeguard, but also must be open to change. I would say we've covered the implications of your EPA decision fairly thoroughly, yes. Actions should be guided by the best interests of our nation. It's time for us to make a decision. What will we do? We can remove the EPA. We can set it to 49. We can give it a 20, or we can set it down to 10. And we're going to set it to 49. Balanced approach will serve us well. It's going to attract significant foreign investment. It's a substantial increase. I fear we're opening ourselves up too much. Daughter room opened. Livia Sano carried a tray laden with assortment of beverages. Are you a bit late? She was a little clumsy as she maneuvered around the room, refilling cups and glasses with tea, coffee, and water. I suppose if refilling, then that's all right. Coffee, tea, just water. I mean, she didn't knock or anything. Right. Again, I would say this unlike this. Or does she have that special power that she can just come in anyway? I don't know. I feel like maybe not now with other people, but I need to have a quiet word to say not before you come in. I thought the meeting had ended and wanted to refill the refreshments. As she finished serving beverages, Livia retreated towards the door. She glanced around the room one last time before quietly backing out. She's definitely a suspicious character, that Livia. If there's talk of spies, then she's definitely on the list of possibilities, along with our vice president. Meeting resumed, our conversation growing slightly louder over the clink of cups and glasses. While we are here, I inform you that I've been lending my expertise to Minister Benewall in relation to the Workers' Rights Bill. I believe it's crucial to ensure fair treatment for our workforce, and it's nearing presentation. Commendable, I hope it will bring positive change, yeah. But we need to ensure the bill doesn't introduce excessive regulations. Reserve my judgment until I have a chance to review the bill in detail. Sure, let's just say that. Bill aims to prioritize workers' well-being and step towards a more humane economic system. We must be careful to avoid encouraging anti-business tendencies. Ensuring the rights of our workers is paramount, although we must be cautious of any hidden agendas. Anyway, I've been working on our upcoming term budget meeting and proposal for a business taxation changes. Are we talking about everything in this meeting? Considering a range of 10% tax changes for small to medium enterprises and large corporations, this could be a significant move for our economic landscape. 10% tax changes. Up or down? Could indeed immigrate our economy. Change in which direction? We should be careful with large changes to taxation. They could have unintended consequences. Very satisfied that we're executing bold changes under this administration. Who cares about being bold? Must ensure it doesn't burden our SMEs, small to medium enterprises. Anyway, ensuring the survival and growth is the forefront of considerations. Tax changes could indeed have a significant impact on our economy. We must consider their implications carefully. Large private corporations have enjoyed significant benefits and loopholes for far too long. They should pay their fair share. As ministers rose from their seats, the late morning light spilled into the room through the ornate windows. It seemed to signal the conclusion of the meeting. Our work is our legacy. Let's make sure it's one that's one to be proud of. Thank you for all your insights and collaboration today. Have a great afternoon. Unity is our strength. Let's continue to work for good of Swordsland. We've made some important decisions today. Let's wrap it up now. Let's just say insights and collaboration. Continue working on our priorities. Yeah, see you at term budget. Till next time, take care. Goodbye. Anyway, another long one. I'm going to put a cut in here. If I start reading things, they won't save because it only saves after a long meeting like that. So I want to thank you all for watching. If you've liked it, please leave a like on the video or encourage me to do more. Please subscribe if you want to see more like this on the channel, or just there is various other things like this on the channel. And again, I want to thank you for watching, and hopefully you have a great day wherever it is you are.